To do it anyway. Hold on. And okay, we're live. See that
But I mean, they're so fluid.
Hello and welcome to Corner Comics, your mostly weekly comic book reading club. I'm your host Burkhoff. I get together with my friends each weekend. We share some comic issues with each other, and sometimes we rearrange our pictures in the live stream. Yeah, we get together. We talk about comics. That's what we do each week. Gentlemen, how are you doing this weekend?
I am doing well. All things considered, I'm just keeping myself under wraps. But I am feeling some joy. I read some good comics, and I'm here with my friends.
Emmanuel?
I'm doing beautifully. Take that how you want it. I'm doing beautiful.
Nice. All right, we've got 6 issues this week. The 2 that I'm bringing to the table are Zatana number 4. This is from the 2016 run. And The Road to Empyre number 1, the Kree Skrull War. This is an issue that came out, I think, just before the lockdowns hit across America. And I was excited for this Marvel event, but I held off on reading it because I knew I wasn't going to get another one for a while. So those are my 2 issues. Russ, which 2 do you have this week?
My first issue is Strayed, and I'll get into more what it's about. I think it's an Image comic. And because Matt made the call for some Justice League that might be worthy of him, I have Justice, just called Justice, came out in 2006, number 5. And this is a 12-issue maxi series that sort of modernizes Justice League versus the Legion of Doom.
Manuel?
Nice. I have 2. My 2 are DCeased, which is a DC run from. This is the 3-issue run. This is issue 3 of 3, current. So it's 2020, and this is by Carl Marsart, Trevor Scott, and cover art by Howard Porter, and Tom Taylor is the story or the writer. And then my second issue is a Marvel comic. It is Jessica Jones, Blind Spot number 6. This too is from 2020. And this is by the arts by Marcio Takara, the cover art by Valerio. I'm butchering these names. Gangriandando. That's definitely not how you pronounce that. And the writer is Kelly Thompson.
Gian Giordano, I think. I don't know. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Ian Giordano.
Is that how you say it?
Yes.
That's how I'm reading it.
Okay. Feel bad for butchering the names, but happens from time to time. If you are watching and you have thoughts on how to pronounce these names, or any thoughts on the comic books, and you're reading along with us, go ahead and send us an email, cornercomicsofficial@gmail.com. We're also still working on the website, cornercomics.net. That will evolve into a form, hopefully, a little better than it is right now. But it'll be show notes. It'll be random blog posts talking about how to shoot Giant Man in the balls or other miscellaneous comic thoughts. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it, because we do have a couple of other topics for the tail end of the show that I'm kind of curious to get into. One in particular is something that I talked with the owner of the comic shop down the street, because this affects the direct comic market in general quite heavily. So jumping into the first issue of the week, Zatana number 4. I don't have it with me. I forgot to grab it, but one of the 100-page DC Giant issues this week was Swamp Thing Giant number 4. It had 5 stories in it, and the last story of the book was this particular comic. And so just sort of flipping through it, I found it and was like, hey, this is really cool. This is Zatana fighting the Royal Flush Gang in Vegas. Fun story. Thought I'm going to share it because it's one of the ones that I read this week. So, what are your guys' thoughts?
I'll
Okay, I'll go. The art, if someone went to DC drawing school and they just graduated from DC, they have their degree from DC drawing school, they don't have as much time in the field, but they have their degree so they can bring that level. This is what I think that art would look like.
Okay.
Right? There's nothing wrong with this art. It does look very DC. This does not look Marvel to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, this guy is, instead of saying the mighty Marvel manner, I guess the direct DC design. There we go. I just made that
nice.
up. So this guy is playing the direct DC design. So because of that, it looks good. Not super amazing, but very good and very clean enough. And I really had no complaints with it. It was, relatively enjoyable, right? I didn't see anything that distracted me. And in fact, some of the things I liked that I saw were quite nice. As far as the story goes, like I am a fan of Zatana, so I can't separate that out of any judgment of this book, because just because it's Zatana, I'm interested. I mean, her and Black Canary and the fishnets, what are you gonna do, right? So my critique in this is I didn't feel like it was especially challenging for the protagonist. Let me give you an example, right? In Spider-Man, in a regular Spider-Man book, shit is fucking hard. You know what I mean? He gets something nice and then fucking it gets hard. It gets something that is challenging for him, right? I didn't feel like anywhere in this book did it get extra challenging for Zatana, right? No matter what's happening, she's still posing, sticking that ass out, right? Smiling, right? Throughout most of the book, right? So while the story tells you there are things at stake, I didn't feel like the heroine, pardon me, was really taxed, right? Or put through anything. I feel like it was just the only taxing thing that happened to her is that she was annoyed at her nephew or cousin for fucking had a party in her hotel room, right? Yeah. And she just did shit, right? It did show things that you didn't really think about her powers. She turns human beings into doves, right? That's kind of a big thing, transmortifying humans like it ain't nothing. Right? That ain't no small thing. She just says, people to doves, as he said it backwards, and motherfuckers change. That's more power than I expect her to normally have. So that was interesting to me, right? I actually do remember reading this book. And so, but whatever happened in the book, when you look at all of it, and even in the end where she sort of gets caught by surprise and maybe something is going to happen, that's like the last panel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But throughout the book, it was like, oh, this shit again. Zap, flipped, perfect landing. I'm hot. And then moving on about her, so I didn't feel that urgency in the book, which is otherwise actually a decent book. It is enjoyable. It does flow well. It is not hard to understand. You don't have to know the history. All the elements are there, but if you are not already a fan of Zatana, unless you just like her, I'm beautiful, here's my ass, I can flip, turn into doves. If you don't like that already, it's hard to care about her plight. You know what I mean? I don't really feel anything to connect me with her other than she's good to look at and she got some talent.
Okay.
That's sort of my take. Emmanuel, what's yours?
I would agree. There's not a lot to get from this other than just an enjoyable comic. There's no real subtext, there's no deepness, there's no depth, there's no super duper intricate thought. It's just on the surface a good comic. The art is okay. The art is good. It doesn't distract and it doesn't take away from the story itself. It's nothing super notable, but it's serviceable. The action itself, I like Zatana for obviously the optics, and then the fact that her incantations are backwards. So there's a bit of work there. You have to read backwards. And I like that kind of mind. It's a slight mind exercise. It's nothing that's going to tax you at all. It's just something you have to put like a little extra effort into to see exactly what she says. Now, there does pose a question at the very last panel. What is Zatana without her ability to speak the incantations? Because that's how she does her magic. So that would entice a reader to go to the next issue. Uh, it it was good. It had that lure at the very end, but up until that last end, there's nothing that really compels me to read the next issue. That very end is a great solidified question mark. What happens now? Because her powers are all, from my understanding, are all verbal. Like she can do the zapping, she can do the incantations, but they have to be spoken first. Now, unless they've updated or arranged something in her backstory to make her just, and then it happens, and she's pretty much useless if she cannot speak.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you guys brought up the point. One of the reasons that I enjoyed the comic was something I've noticed in DC books as I sort of continue down this path of trying to find DC that I like and get more involved with DC stuff. There's two story arcs here. There's the story arc that begins from the prior issue and you see the tail end of, which is, you know, her fighting the Royal Flush Gang. And then there's the second arc with these fire demons, which are the old ladies at the slot machines. And then she loses her voice at the end. And is like, oh, I have to read the next issue. The way that that's set up with the two arcs, I thought was kind of cool and just a fun way to do the story.
Yeah, when I think of a Deadpool book, which is never deep, right? We have some actions, foolishness, but what Deadpool brings is some comedy or says something really stupid, or it's just in the middle that makes it sort of the romp more fun.
Okay.
That I didn't feel like Zatanna had any good one-liners. You know what I mean? It's just and that was what was missing for me. Is, you know, I would have got through a lot easier, but I guess the fishnets were what I was supposed to be honest, as I've been schooled.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. And if you like Zatanna, this is good, right? And I'm going to tell the truth. I did read the next book because I wanted to see how she got out of that shit.
Nice.
But can I recommend paying $4 for it? No, get this book on discount. That would be my, opinion.
Okay.
And then also, I don't know if any writers are listening, but can we have more female characters that are quippy? Because we have Spider-Man, we have Deadpool, and to a certain extent, we have Hawkeye. But can we get some
Harley
quip?
Quinn?
Is she quippy though?
Yes, especially
Okay.
in her animated series is even more.
Oh yes, yeah, and the animated series definitely.
Yeah, she's definitely quippy.
Okay.
And the Joker is quippy, but who else you got, right? Female wise?
Yeah, we need some
no.
well-equipped quippies.
Actually, there are probably some low-level Spider-Man female villains that are quippy, right? In Spider-Man's Rose Gallery, there's there could be, what is the name, the White Rabbit, or a whole bunch of other people that you might not know about in the mainstream. But as far as good guys, the women are outnumbered. First, can we get enough Superman level, Batman level women first, and then get quippy level? I mean, if you had to have an all-male Justice League and an all-female Justice League, the power dynamic is not close. Right?
What about, I think her name's Alice.
Yeah.
She's Batwoman's sister, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But again, I feel like
she's Joker level, right? I mean, she's
like
crazy and
so only in the Joker universe, apparently, can you get the quippiness, right?
Yeah.
But what people on the side of good female are quippy. You might find some Titans, you know what I mean? Or some Teen Titans who sort of trying to find their way. Like, there's a Nightwing, there's also a Flamebird, right? Are you familiar with Flamebird?
No.
So, and I can get into this, how much time you give me. The original Nightwing is not a human-based, not an Earth-based analogy. The original Nightwing is Kryptonian.
Okay.
Right? And when Superman used to go into the Bottle City, him and Jimmy Olsen, he had no powers there, so he became Nightwing as a Batman type thing.
All right.
And his Robin was called Flamebird. So it was Nightwing and Flamebird. So later on, Robin became Nightwing, and there was an old school Batgirl, not the one we know. She changed to be Flamebird because she's trying to be like him. So there is a different Batwoman out there and a Batgirl out there who changed to become Flamebird. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
We might actually get into a quippy female character towards the end. I think Jessica Jones sort of falls into that category.
You know what? You're not wrong.
So, all right, moving on to my second issue, Road to Empire: The Kree Skrull War. This, as I mentioned, is Marvel's next big event that they're doing for the year, and we're gonna have a Kree war, or a Kree Skrull war. I'm kind of curious how this is going to affect the overall Marvel universe, because I feel like the War of the Realms didn't really do a whole lot to change the overall
Thor's world.
Yeah, in Thor's world. So I don't know what comics this is going to affect. Is it going to be have a huge effect on Avengers or Fantastic Four, or how is this going to be dealt? But I'm kind of curious about it. I guess I'll let you guys get into it, and then I'll maybe throw some thoughts in.
Manuel?
Okay, so I like the idea of Skrulls. Years ago, there was this event that was supposed to change the way Marvel Universe was set up. It changed quite a bit of things. Now you have, the advertisements were great. The advertisements were like, you take a normal family, the nuclear American family, and then you'd see the ridges of the chin. So you know that they're not a normal American family. They're actually Skrulls living among us. And that event changed some things with Jessica Drew, the Spider-Woman. She was a Skrull the whole time, but not a whole lot, in my opinion, was changed because of that event. This has the potential to change a lot, to be a retcon for a bunch of writers. So I'm excited about what this means for the future of the Marvel universe. And the story itself, the art was good. I liked the art. There's a specific sheen or shine to the characters, their suits, and even their faces are greatly detailed. You see some of the blood. There's a panel where there's blood splattered and the green blood, and it really is nice. I really like the art. The story itself, I like it, but it's leading up to something. So I'm kind of reserving my complete judgment. This issue serviced and did exactly what it should do. It made me anticipate what comes next. And because there's this Skrull Kree war, but then it's not about that anymore. It's about they're coming to Earth and they have to be unified. And who's the new foe now? Is it Earthlings? What's going on? So there's a big question there. I'm invested in the family, that they've given enough backstory. I typically don't like backstory. I think the CW verse Arrow kind of killed that for me, because they would go back every episode. This, however, they did a backstory, and it was justified. I understand exactly what they were saying, the story they were telling, why it's relevant to today. I really like this issue.
Okay. I feel like that last big Skrull thing where Skrulls were hiding among us, I feel like that had a big effect. One of the big effects is a lot of heroes you thought were dead were not dead. They had been captured. So heroes that you hadn't seen in a while were returned. Mockingbird was one of those, and there were a few others. It explained, it affected everybody because no one could be trusted. And so things had to be set up to make sure that this didn't happen again. I feel like it affected a lot of things. I don't feel like this will have a similar effect, not saying less impactful. I feel like, so because it's Skrull versus Kree, You have a lot of people that have invested involvement. For example, you have a lot of humans, which have a say in that, right? You have a lot of human-based characters, including Miss Marvel, right?
Yeah.
So this is a lot of going to have an impact all their lives. There are now a lot of characters in all these super groups that are have something to do with or have some investment in this. So it's definitely going to affect them, right? And then you have to think about the might of it. Are they superior to us technologically? And if they already have everything they need planned to invade, and we have a limited amount of heroes, how do we deal with that? Then there's also the part where the leader of them is half Skrull, half Kree, but raised in the US.
Yeah.
So how does that affect? And he's leading them to, in theory, destroy us. But going back to this particular issue, there are two parts to this issue that go back and forth. There's the story of the past, and there's the story that's occurring in the present. And the story that's occurring in the present has amazing art. I am a big fan of Javier Rodriguez. So this did that. This gave me visually exactly what I want. So Javier Rodriguez is great. Write his name down, look at his art. He puts it down. All the things you say you like, I 100% agree. Then you have the flashback sequences, which take place in the past and are drawn as if they were drawn 20 years ago and look like. That's not as much fun and juxtaposed against the present day art.
I liked it.
I'm not saying it's bad art, but it didn't affect me the same way.
Okay.
It's nostalgic more than it is amazing to look at intrinsic.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong or negative on that end necessarily. But again, it kept taking me back and forth. Like, oh, it's amazing art. Poof, what? okay. I get into it. We're back. Okay, amazing art. And I kept having, so it sort of, at times, sort of took me out of it. Like, I had to gear myself differently. The story is a prequel. So to that end, I didn't feel like there was enough meat to have this hold its own without it being the bookend to something larger.
Yeah.
If you don't have a vested interest, I will say this, to the story of this Skrull family, there was actually their own comic that talked about, and you could follow them, that talked about how they were placed there, where's the father. All of that story got told prior to this, and how they were infiltrated and bring here to infiltrate as a regular American family until they could do what they want. What was interesting also to me is they got to the end and realized they have Kree counterparts. So that was interesting. But you don't get that to the end. So there's enough here if you're interested in the world or these type of stories, or I don't know that in and of itself, I could say, here, read this comic and say someone who's not necessarily a comic reader, this is not an intro comic. This is I kind of already know a lot of these characters in these worlds. Yeah. And if you already do, then there's something in this for you. It's just not good. I wouldn't say it's good for beginners. But all in all, visually, especially the right now times, that's kind of great. I could read that kind of art all day, right? That art was carrying me through. If at any time the story was lacking, I could not tell, because that art was clear, cool, and crisp like spearmint gum. I realize Rodriguez gets my love, and I'm willing to now put him in my top 10 because he just
spearmint gum. That's a great way to describe the crispness.
Exactly, right? So anyway, did I enjoy the book? Yes, I did. And I actually had already read this book in anticipation of the event that coronavirus has derailed. So, but here we go. That's all I got. Anything?
I have a question. Is there any correlation between the Groot world or species and the Kotati, that plant-like species?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so. They are wholly separate. Two separate thoughts, I guess. The interesting thing is, do the Kotati, do they emerge as a third sort of entrant into this war that's going on because the Kree and Skrull are effectively joining forces? And what role do they play? I don't know. And then I guess the other one, I always thought that the Skrull were really. It's really cool that you have an entire race that are basically superheroes that all have the shape shifting ability. And like, how do you deal with that? You have an entire a planet of people, and not only that, they're scientifically advanced. They're involved in espionage and military style stuff going on all across the galaxy. Like
So
that's
in theory, they should be superior to us.
yeah, yeah, in theory.
And the mom was hot too. You gotta give it to her. Some hot ass girl, right? And to think that's their normal form, like I might be able to roll with some scrollness. I might be able to get past that shit. I might be like, what, baby, hey.
That is funny.
So yeah, I'm interested. I'm curious to see where this goes. We'll see what has Marvel released. Do we know if they've released like a list of all the tie-in issues and stuff?
I don't know if they have,
Because
because they also have some other events going on too, with the young heroes being not allowed to fight. There's that event going on simultaneously.
yeah,
So I don't know. I've heard more of that of late than of this story.
yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll continue to watch it, and I'll probably be picking up the full. I'm sure it's going to be 6 or 12 issues or something like that, and I'm sure I'll
And a
pick up.
few series as well that you're gonna have to buy.
Right. Yeah. All the tie-in issues, all the major ones. Marvel, just take my money. Um, all right, Russ, your first book of the week.
My first book of the week is Strayed. It is a Dark Horse comic because I kind of always do Image, and Dark Horse is kind of a close. And it's the story of a girl and her cat, and I'll leave it at that. And let me tell you.
All right, I'll jump in. So I thought it was kind of interesting, the idea that this person can telepathically talk with her space cat. Um, the artwork was decent, but felt like an animated series. I feel like this is a trend with a lot of books these days, where they tend to like mimic that sort of TV style. And I don't know if it's like what you were saying, Russ. Some of these books are packaged up to move mediums.
Yeah.
Either be a movie or be an animated series, and like this is just a way to sort of pitch that for creating like a franchise or whatever. I kept thinking about, and I don't know if you guys know, this is a real world project. This guy got a bunch of money to try and communicate with dolphins, and what he did was he dosed them up on LSD to try and get dolphins to learn human language.
Because LSD facilitates communication.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you get a chance, look it up. There was a woman involved. Some really crazy shit, like taking care of the dolphin sexually and things like that while it was on LSD.
Gosh.
So I kept thinking about that with this, and I was like, well, how's the cat fit into all this, and is the what is the overall plot for the military agency that's sort of directing these people? They're going after this energy source. So what does the energy source have to do with anything? Overall, I thought it was a decent book. I don't know that I'll continue reading it because I'm not a huge fan of cats, but I thought it was really interesting that you would have this. So yeah, it was an enjoyable read.
All right, agreed. It was definitely an enjoyable read. It took me a while to kind of get into it because of the whole. It's weird. It's a weird story, but it kind of fits in with what I don't know. It's weird, but yet still it's common at the same time. I don't know how to describe that. The art itself was very much. I got Human Torch vibes. Like it's very much like kind of red and orange, and even though there's not a lot of flames, but I still got like just that Human Torch type vibe, as if it were a Human Torch story. the art itself. Now, the story was interesting, and I could completely see it being not Tales from the Crypt, more like a Twilight Zone episode where this unique cat is able to do these unique things. There's this reminds me of this sci-fi movie that I saw way back in the day, The Cat from Outer Space.
Okay.
And you guys familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to know, is it all cats that have this ability to transcend space, or is it just this one particular cat? I don't think that was specified. Now, if it were all cats, I'm sure they wouldn't just have this one cat held up and yeah. So that probably answers that question. All in all, I enjoyed this issue for what it was. Would I read a subsequent issue? Probably not. But this was interesting, and that it gave me something I did not know existed.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that, Russ. The art itself, Juan Doe. Interesting. I have to look him up. It's an interesting name too, Juan Doe. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. A malevolent mastermind intent on expanding and conquering. That's the military in a nutshell. So all military kind of has to have that same inclination.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't feel the art was great. I feel that it was just below what it needed to be as far as quality wise. And I also feel that, even though I brought this book to the table, that there's a previous issue that's missing. This was number one, but basically they say in the far future and do one paragraph and tell you everything that this whole book is about, but not enough of the story. Like, he learns how to talk to her cat, and the cat has powers, and that all happened in an issue that never existed. Here we go.
Yeah.
Right.
You could.
How did the military find out? And all of this is just skipped over.
Yeah.
But it's a very clear villain. But you don't know if the cat is not even from Earth. Is he from a race of celestial beings? Is there the limit to his power? What happens when his homies show up? None of that. You know, there's a lot of questions and things places that it can go here. I think it would have been better if the art was a step up in quality. I do feel like that it could have been better or more enticing, but it was sort of in alignment with the story, which wasn't as urgent as it necessarily needed to, as it could have been. But I thought it was that the really only thing here is this woman just has the power to talk to her cat. That's all she got.
Yeah. Yeah, the cat has
anybody else, right? And the cat can transcend time and space. And if anything happens to her, I don't think the cat's going to stay put either. So they have to keep her safe and all of this. And what is the real agenda here? Another conspiracy type book. But all in all, I thought it was, at least worth a check out. And I'm glad you at least got that much from it. I didn't read the second issue either.
It's funny. I was going to ask you. I was going to say, Russ, why did you pick this? And then I was thinking, well, this is the same guy that knows every superhero pet that has ever existed. Well, of course he checked this out because it's got a cat on the cover. So.
I also am not a cat person either. I just thought it was something that we don't see much of, right? It's usually the protagonist that has the power, right? Not the protagonist's pet. And I thought that might be a different sort of plot point or way to tell a story. And, because what power does this woman even have? What can she really do?
Yeah.
How can she threaten or get out of her situation? I thought that was interesting. And if some writer figured out a way to do that, then that would be sort of worth writing. Like, I feel like a good writer writes himself into the corner and then writes himself a door.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that part of it, the possibility of that interests me. But we'll move on. Because last week we did Justice League, but I didn't participate. And we are trying to bring some Justice League to Matt that is worthy of his reading time. And I brought DCeased Justice, 12-issue Maxi series, which is sort of a modern take on Justice League / Super Friends versus Legion of Doom. However, this is murderous level. The art is Alex Ross. I've said, because with this kid, Alex Ross can sort of do no wrong. And I read a few of these and I was trying to find which is the right book to share. And I chose this one. What do you think?
So my initial thought: why the fuck are they not making suits like this for film? Like, why do they have to be the pads and like armor stylized? Like, I want to see superheroes on screen that are wearing just the
Spandex.
regular, yeah, spandex cloth, whatever. Because this looks freaking amazing. Like, and the crazy thing too is Alex Ross did a bunch of for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. He did a bunch of the concept art for the suit before they decided on what they were gonna do for that. And same thing, like they kind of used some of his stylings, but then they abandoned it, and like the webbing stuck out. It was like bumpy on the suit and stuff like that. Like, why? Why do you need to do that? You don't. You don't need to do that. Is the answer. Um, so I really enjoyed this. I thought it was cool. I'll probably go back and read the whole 12 issue run just because it's amazing to look at, and it's kind of an interesting story. I do feel like I was dropped into the middle though. I don't know all of what's going on.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so issue 5 is definitely not where to start, but getting sort of like here's a clip, watch this clip, and then make a decision as to whether or not you want to watch the full movie. I thought that issue 5 was good for that because you get to see most of the heroes, and you kind of get a little bit about the fact that what happens when the most tactical member of the Justice League is taken out. In this case, Batman. He's, I guess, infiltrated by a virus or worms or something like that, and he's not of his right mind. Um, and so you've got to have Shazam and Superman, who's been depowered, figure out what the hell they're gonna do to defeat Luthor and Brainiac. It's crazy. It's classic in a way, um, but yeah, like you said, it's still modern. So highly enjoyable. I would probably definitely recommend it once I read the whole 12 issue run. So yeah, thanks for bringing this to me, and hopefully somebody gets a mind to just take this panel for panel and turn it into a movie, because I think that'll probably do a hell of a lot better than the Snyder Cut will.
nice.
Emmanuel?
Awesome. Awesome. I love Alex Ross. His hyper realism, as you said, Ross, he can do no wrong. This guy is amazing. Uh, it's Kingdom Come. Like, if you like the story of Kingdom Come, that's very popular. That's the artist that did that. And it is beautiful. And to your point, Matt, the the costumes of the characters. So you're saying you would actually like the old school '90s Flash costume more so than the current
Yeah.
Grant Gustin.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
interesting. Interesting. It Yeah, it definitely has a quality in and of itself. I'm looking at a panel where Cheetah is on it, and I've never imagined Cheetah really to have. But yeah, the bodysuit, yes, but then the helmet, it's as if she actually skinned a cheetah because it's a cheetah face right above her face.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. It's not as if she embodied the cheetah. That's a suit that she has on, a skin pretty much.
Yeah.
So that is really, really nice to look at. The art is a feast. It is beautiful. It is hyper realistic. And even the movements, they kind of pop, to use that weird phrase. The story itself, it reminds me of Tower of Babel, where, all of what we did last issue or last episode, we reviewed that where someone took out all the members of the Justice League in a very methodical way. This is kind of similar to that. It was nice. I too was kind of lost in it when this is issue number 5, so there's a bunch of backstory that's happened prior to this. So I was a bit lost, but ultimately, if you know the characters, you know what's going on. You know who does what. Like, there's a scene where Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, is in bed and he's been attacked at this point by a, what is it? Not Mudman.
Clayface.
Clayface. Yeah. So Clayface disguised himself as the songbird, Black Canary, and they were in bed, and then Black Canary comes in and does her scream. It's great. Like the art is very picturesque, so you can really see this going from panel to panel. You can see it as an episode, as a live action or a animated series. So this is great, amazing. I have nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. The art is on par, the story is on par. Great choice.
I was going to bring the first issue, but I feel like the first issue wasn't as enticing enough. And I wanted something, some moment, like you said, Matt, like here's a taste
Yeah.
that's in the middle of the book of what this can be like. It's what it looks like, what it feels. Does it evoke those emotions? Well, the whole series does. Now go back and check it out. And I feel like the first issue didn't quite do that. Then I went to the second, it was a little closer. And this is the one that I said, this is the one that shows enough that says, okay, I can go read more.
Okay. Would you say that somebody getting into this, like on the trade paperback or the graphic novel, has to read through the first issue or two before
Yes.
getting into it?
This was designed, this is a 12-issue maxi series. It's sequential. And if I was going to tell someone to read it, it's called Justice, that's it. And you see Alex Ross on the cover. And I believe I have seen this graphic novel at the bookstore back when it was open. So I would suggest just get the whole graphic novel. It's going to be cheaper anyway than issue per issue. And you're going to get some extras that you normally get in a graphic novel. And it's an Alex Ross art cover to cover, which is just going to please you and look good and make it highly shareable to your friends that say, look, this is a comic book that I really like. And you know every character here because you know Super Friends and the Legion of Doom from way back when. So there's nobody in here that's not going to be familiar to you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about DC, I believe, is you kind of know their whole pantheon. Everybody does. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad I brought something that was worthy of you. And I will endeavor to do so again, given a chance.
All right.
That's it for me on this one.
Beautiful. All right. So up next is my pick, the first of which is DCeased, Unkillables. It will have to be an Elseworlds because so many people die. This is Elseworlds story in the DC universe where this virus has taken a hold of the entire world. And the way that this virus was spread was through you looking at your screen, your phone screen. So it has permeated the entire world. Not everyone itself. As you know, there are a few outliers, people that found out that it's transmuted through looking at your screen. So they've disregarded their telephones and have tried to make a safe haven for those that are not affected. What would happen if you have The Walking Dead meets the DC universe? This is what happens. This is issue 3 of 3. A lot of notable people have already been infected. What do you guys take?
Russell, I'll let you go first.
So we did issue number 1 here
Yeah.
in this podcast. So we've already sort of touched into the anti-life equation and all that. This is just sort of the ending of the series. I always feel like all these zombie stories all end tragically. This is no exception. Like somebody does survive, but you have great losses that can never be replaced. Right. So you got all of that here. You did get a surprise sort of show up of a hero that you sort of didn't see coming, which was nice. I definitely like the cover art, and the rest of the art I actually like too, sort of in a different way for different reasons. It's still, you can, like, I don't know who is it that drew this, because you kind of feel like you're just going to know him every time you see him, because I've seen his art before, and it can't be anyone else doing it this way other than him. And I want to feel like he's done some stuff for Image. I just don't remember who is the artist.
Trevor Scott.
Yeah, I have to look and see if I've seen him before and what he's done. So I like the art. I like the surprise. I some emotionally based, because these are leftovers. A lot of them are villains. But if you follow the entire series, because now we've done number 1 and number 3, but we've skipped number 2, there's a lot to endear yourself to the bad guys turn good who try to become saviors of this group of children. And then also so tragic to see them killed, destroyed, or turned into monsters. and to see can nobody stop Wonder Woman outside of Superman? Is she just number two by far? Is there nobody? Is she that strong that only Superman can stop her, and then only maybe? It makes you think of, you got Superman, then you got Wonder Woman, and then down here you got everybody else. There's no one at that level. So Mary Marvel was a good character to bring in to say maybe they're at that similar level. So I enjoyed it in my heart. I don't think you should read this book without getting the whole series of them, or if there is a graphic novel. I don't think this is good for just to read as a one-of issue. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the run. I found the art pleasing. Interesting to see who they decided who gets to live after the zombies kill everybody else, including Superman, who survives. And then you think of all the Robins, Red Hood, that's the one you choose, right? Which, it makes you think how jacked up the world is, because if the virus comes, if something like this happens here, not necessarily is the good people are going to survive, not the ones you want to live. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Right.
It's almost a random luck type thing. But I enjoyed it as a series, and I would certainly recommend it as a sort of Elseworld series, and sort of similar in some ways to Marvel's Zombies.
Yeah. I would describe the art as adult Nicktoons.
I like that.
So it sort of feels like Rugrats or Hey Arnold or whatever, with just a lot more polish and a lot more blood. As Emmanuel put in the notes, I'm not a big fan of zombies. So I'm not as invested in this story as you guys. I thought visually it's like really cool. I do enjoy the art. The story's kind of whatever, but it's interesting to see these heroes and villains in these types of battles. Because you are in the Elseworld, so it's just sort of a no holds barred. We can kind of do whatever the hell we want. My favorite character is probably Deathstroke, and he has a really interesting death, I guess. Does he come back from this? Probably not. But Wonder Woman flies straight through him, and just he turns into this puddle of goo that goes everywhere, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a cool scene, I guess, in the book. It's a shame that he dies. I don't know how the hell Constantine ends up in Eden. Like, what the hell is he doing there? Like, he should not be with everybody just chilling, at the end. I feel like he's...
Why not Zatana?
Yeah, Constantine is the morose, depressed guy. So, I don't know, just, it was kind of funny visuals and stuff that you would not expect to see constantly come up in these books. So overall, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I vaguely remember the first issue. I don't know that we did issue 1 though. Was it issue 1 or 2?
I'm pretty sure it was 1. It's the Deathstroke. It was Deathstroke got infected, then woke up days later as his body fought it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Okay. Because I do remember talking about how crazy Jason Todd is. And, he's not emotionally or mentally stable in the normal universe, and then throw him into the zombies universe. Like, of course, he's going to be, pun intended, batshit crazy.
Yeah, well, but neither is Deathstroke's daughter, right?
Yeah.
So they might belong together. And you imagine that that's the Batman and Batwoman of the universe.
So this is the offshoot issue. There is a main issue where you follow the exploits of not the outliers, not of the rogues gone good. You have like Superman, what happens to his family, and Batman, what happens to his family, and all that. And that issue, the last issue, they actually leave planet Earth. So things have gotten that bad that they actually have to abandon the planet itself. So it's an interesting read if you're interested in zombies, unlike Matt.
There is another series that just started, I think, this month, and it's a story from what happened. And it starts with how Black Adam, what he is willing to do to protect his people. If people were being affected, if this was Doctor Doom and it was in that area, and people were being affected, what would Doctor Doom do to the people, his people that were being affected?
He would try to find a cure, and if he couldn't,
In the meantime, though, should he allow them to be affected?
no,
Affect us?
he'd quarantine him for sure.
Only quarantine?
He might kill him off if he can't figure out a way to do it, to cure him quickly enough.
Yeah, right. It's more efficient than just to kill them off and then everybody's safe, right?
Yeah.
And shut down all the technology. Just kill them. It's not like you can save them. You probably can't save them. I'm Dr. Doom. I love Dr. Doom. So I just, what would happen if Dr. Doom was in that world and he had to protect Latveria?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have we ever had the conversation of who would win, Deathstroke or Deadpool?
Excellent question. Deathstroke can die. Deathstroke
that's a Deadpool.
healing power is not as fast as Wade's is. However, he is much more tactical and smarter than Deadpool.
Yeah.
So it's a that to have an end. Here's the question: what if Deathstroke cuts off all his arms and legs and his head? What grows back? Does anything grow back? Is Deadpool gone?
If he does it fast enough, probably.
Okay.
Well, remember that Deadpool has an agreement or a curse actually with death, so he can't die. It would have to grow back. He would have to exist in some shape or form, unless
I don't know that is sustainable as comics. I think he could still die. I think he won't die because we've seen him in the future, but I think he could still die. I don't really feel like even immortals die. You know what I mean? I don't feel like there's any, and this is me. This isn't, I feel like in theory, if a superhero or villain cannot ever die, then they're no longer interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Superman, it's just not worth having. Long-lived, heal fast, yes. A Wolverine will ultimately die, can be killed, will be killed. Right?
Right.
I think you can have that for the foreseeable future. And here's the thing: whatever happens in a Deadpool book, it's not canon. Right? Deadpool is a comedy offshoot. It's 0.5. It's DC 1.5. Anything that can happen can be ignored at any given time because Deadpool is more about comedy. It's like if you got a Harley Quinn book, stuff in the Harley Quinn happens in the Harley Quinn book stays in the Harley Quinn book. You know what I mean? It's not canon for everywhere else, right? So I feel like Deadpool is not someplace you find canon. I think if Deadpool is in an X-Men book, then you can find canon there, right? If Deadpool,
well, he breaks the fourth wall, and oftentimes he will say this is canon or this isn't canon. He's aware that he's in a comic book itself. Yeah. So with that agreement between Thanos and Death, he cursed like similar to the anti-life equation with.
Well, but he's also having sex with Death or something like that. He's his wife or whatever. So all of that is possible. But is it possible that Deadpool will piss off his wife and still get to die at any given time over a chimichanga? Yes. So I'm not going to accept that he can't die. I'm just going to say it's not likely he will.
I got you.
If there is a death battle, like death battle, who do you got? Who do you have?
Wade versus Slade? I would pick Wade. Wade Wilson.
I just think Slade is smarter, more tactical, and can match him skill for skill. There's no killer move that Deadpool has that Wade can't counter. And remember, Slade can't counter. Remember, Slade is also using 95% of his brain.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Deadpool's too cocky.
Yeah, so I have to give it to Slade Wilson instead of Wade Wilson. It's amazing how that works out.
Right.
In battle. Speaking of death battle, there is one out there that you might need to watch. Is She-Ra versus Wonder Woman.
Oh. All right.
Yeah. Death battle, it's actually pretty good. And when they see some of the things you've seen fucking She-Ra, because you know they had the over the top, and because he's only been in this animated series, right? She's over the top, pushy planets and stuff like that. She-Ra done stuff like that, right? If you use all the things she's done against all the stuff Wonder Woman has done, who wins, right? She-Ra's sword can take many forms.
Mm-hmm.
She-Ra has moved at really fast speeds. She is, in theory, indestructible. Certainly Superman level strong, because in theory, He-Man is supposed to be Superman level strong. Who wins in a death battle? And they both are warriors, both trained warriors. Who you got? Who's your money on?
All right, let's table that conversation.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
All right, moving
I
on.
want to get into the last issue and then some of the links that we've got at the end. Manuel,
right.
what's your last issue?
Last issue is Marvel's Jessica Jones, Blind Spot number 6. It is a very low stakes issue. So, what do you guys think?
Low stakes is a nice way to put it. This is comic book dessert. This is.
Yeah.
I usually read our comics in the same order that we present them. So a lot of times I'm reading mine first, and then Russell posts his. I'll read through his, and I'll read through Manuel's last. And this being the last issue that I read, and it being her name escapes me, the daughter of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, having it be her
Danielle Cage.
Is it Danielle? Having it be her birthday party. Just the fact that you can put superheroes in extraordinarily ordinary situations is always kind of fun. And Loan Shark. That
that they explained it.
Yes, yeah, I love that it was explained. So, not Loan Shark LOAN, Loan Shark LONE, and the internal dialogue, not really internal dialogue. He says it out loud, but the dialogue that Luke Cage has, where he's like, "Who says that? There's a lone wolf. There's no lone sharks." Yeah, very very lighthearted. Just a fun issue to get through. Artwork's good. The dialogue was on point, and works for these types of situations. Yeah, this is the type of issue you take it for what it is, and just kind of go about your day.
Yes. When I see Jessica Jones in the comics, I expect it to be more serious than this. This is not what I normally get when I read Jessica Jones. But it is nice. I do like some comedy in my books, right? Marvel's pretty good at doing that in the movies. It is nice. It's just that this was all cake. You know what I mean? There was no steak, right? It was all cake, no steak. Thor shows up. We have a nice little side conversation. It's like remember the Justice League with Blue Beetle, Booster Gold?
Mm-hmm.
Right, where they were fighting real stakes, but it was all funny throughout and foolish. This feels that absent even those stakes, right? But if you love the characters, it's nice to see. It's nice to see how they interact. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones as husband and wife. It's nice to see Jessica Jones and her thoughts when she sees Thor walk into the door while her man is right there. Those things are very nice touches. It's enjoyable and fun, and there are no stakes. And if you require stakes in a comic, this is not for you. But if you like these characters and just want to have some fun with them, this is very much fun. There is some action, there is fighting, there is we must have this birthday happen, whatever. But whatever ever happened in Jessica Jones' life in the past that made her who she is, it only shows up in the last panel when her kid shows up purple. Right? Whatever is happening in Luke Cage's life that brought him to this moment, it's not relevant. It's just he's just a dude with strength and trying to get along with his wife and make things great for his daughter, right? And everybody cheats apparently and eats cupcakes when they can, even though they should wait. And so that's kind of it. The art was nice. right? Nothing to write home about, but certainly clear and enjoyable enough to facilitate the book. I didn't feel like I missed anything. It wasn't too slow at any parts. They always found a way to inject some comedy or some foolishness to keep you interested. Sort of like a Deadpool book for me, right? Deadpool, nothing that happens is vital. I mean, but Deadpool, in this case, if this was a Deadpool book, he would be giving the commentary instead of these situation type things happening. So, in that respect, I did enjoy it. Uh, but if you're looking for some meat, this is not your book. But if you're looking for some fun, this very well could be.
Yeah.
Those are my
All right.
And is she quippy enough?
she's kind of always been quippy, but she's always got a serious edge to her quippiness, right?
Yeah.
She's never quippy like Spider-Man quippy when he just goes off on a tangent. He says, "Who does your hair?" You know, Spider-Man would do some shit like that, right? She's not
Right.
quippy.
She has an angry quip.
Yes.
There's always something that ticks her off for her to say some sarcastic
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. So we've got some links at the end of the show notes here. Um, the main one that I want to talk about, and I guess we can get into the Eisner Awards too. So the 2020 Eisner Awards, they've done the nominations for that. But the big news of the week, DC has ended their relationship with Diamond Comic Distributor. This is huge because Diamond has been the sole distributor of comics. I want to say since the mid '80s, ever since the birth of direct market. And there's always been, so there have been other companies that have distributed comics, but Diamond's always been the sole go-to company. And I know there was some turmoil right after everything started to shut down across the country with the coronavirus, and there was another company that was started to distribute DC books. But I think the understanding was that DC was always going to go back through Diamond once Diamond decided that they were going to start shipping books again. And apparently DC sold through well enough that they said, we don't need you anymore. This doesn't really affect us so much as we're reading digital books, and I don't think it's going to change, it's not going to change Comixology or anything like that. So if you're reading your books digitally, you're not really affected. But if you go out to the store and you buy your book every week, that this is...
Yeah. How does that affect? I understand it affects the comic shop owners. Are you saying because there's a new distributor, there won't be those comics on the shelves? How does this affect the end user of a physical comic book?
Well, so if you own a shop, you sign up through Diamond, and either you front the money or you have a line of credit to get your books. And a lot of shops, depending on what volume and how long you've been with them, determines the discount that you get on your books that you buy. So now if you've injected another company into that, then you've got two channels that you have to go through to get your books, and maybe maybe you don't get your DC books because this new company doesn't handle it properly, or maybe you've got a large enough line of credit through Diamond that it doesn't make sense for you to go with another company, and Diamond is also still carrying Image, still carrying IDW, still carrying Dark Horse, all the other distributors or all the other publishers that are out there. Diamond's still handling those books.
So, okay, now there's also a lot of horror stories from Diamond as being a monopoly, which is a problem anyway.
Yeah, I'm all for another company coming in. I just don't know.
It doesn't have to, it may not make a difference to the end user. It definitely makes a difference to the owner of the comic shop. Definitely, I 100% agree. But if I go in and I see books that I want to read and they're there, and I can still do my pull list, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying it won't or it can't, but it doesn't necessarily have to affect me that goes to the comic shop and buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it may still be there. But again, that is a new challenge because we know there's not a lot of margin in the comic shop owner's capability to make these things come to you. But it could be better. They could have, because Diamond sends you don't get refunds if books are torn and ripped, or you don't get the quantity. Diamond have been a lot of problems with
Yeah.
them, right? So if you don't get those same problems with this new company, you can recoup some losses here, right? If I can go to you and say, hey, I'm not getting, my number wasn't correct, or these books are torn and ripped, or this book is, and then you can go directly to the distributor and get something back, or some restitution or some credit, then that could be better for comic companies. Now, I don't know if these other distributors are going to start moving into other areas. Like, can these other distributors distribute some Marvel? Right. And
Yeah.
this may be an opportunity for other comic companies, right? Like, maybe if I'm Image, can I get a better deal of distribution with these guys?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. So I don't.
already know Marv DC is pushing stuff through that pipe, so I know DC is invested in making this happen, and that can help me.
Yeah, I don't know what the relationship between Diamond and Marvel is, or how closely they are connected.
What if you're Image, IDW, Dark Horse?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if this other is it Lunar is the name of the company, the new one.
I heard there were two company names, but I wasn't sure. I thought there was two of them.
Okay.
I thought you would have more because I figured you were going to talk to your comics guy.
Actually I'm gonna talk to him probably when I go pick up my books this next week, find out what he's doing to deal with this, because this just came out I think a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they can capture the independent books, then maybe it makes more sense for me to start limiting my order through Diamond. Like if I'm a store owner, start limiting my Diamond order to just Marvel books. If I can get IDW, Image, Dark Horse through the other distributors, and maybe I'm getting a better deal, because as a new company, you've got to step up and say like, well, in order for me to capture some of the market, I've got to take a loss on the front end or whatever in order to make profit over time.
And then Diamond would have to make some adjustments because they're no longer the. And so to me, the water raises all boats. This could be a great thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not in despair. I'm thinking, because we already know monopolies are bad, right?
Yeah.
So, and we all both agree that there's something good in the space. It's just going to be good for everyone around, right? So I'm thinking, as the end user, it may be seamless for us. I'm not looking like if the comic company or if the comic book store gets a discount, I'm not looking for them to pass that on to us. I'm looking for them to be more profitable and be able to do what they need to do. As long as my prices are the same, I'm good, right? As long as you have availability and you box up my pull list, then I'm good. So if there's some way that the comic shops, which I do care about, can be more effective or be more profitable, this can be amazing. And I'm happy for them, for the possibility for them. I know there may be some transition challenges, right? And DC, maybe Marvel outsells DC enough, but this is big enough and impact that maybe there's something good here that can come out of it. And
Here's hoping.
they're not doing what DC needs to do. DC can always go back to Diamond anytime they fucking want, right? Or DC can go get whoever distributor they want.
Yeah. I suppose that is true.
Right. So DC is enough of a beast that say this shit is not fucking working, get it together. Right? Yeah. Marvel has not exercised that over Diamond, and they could, but they don't.
Yeah.
So maybe this is something to Marvel that says, okay, we got to be better at DC than this. Distributor is a major arm and could be a bottleneck. I need you to improve the process, right? I need you to do whatever so that we are more effective in getting the books to market, et cetera. So there's a lot of things that can happen that can be all good. So I am choosing to see it as great potential and great possibility.
That positive thinking.
Mm-hmm. No, not positive thinking.
Do you guys remember, I want to say it was a few months ago, we had another article where one of the Warner Brothers CEOs, I think, was talking about how the comics arm of DC wasn't making money, and there were rumors that they might shut them down or whatever. Do you think that some of what's happening with this and them moving to another distributor and even doing digital only books during the pandemic and not shipping physical books, do you think that has something to do with it?
Yeah, I
And
think
maybe
you're right.
they're making
Nothing
moves.
nothing happens in a vacuum. And if they are part owners of this distributor, it becomes another profit center,
Yeah.
right? Get another slice of the pie to increase their profitability, right? And then, of course, to be able to change their relationship to the comic shops and endear them more, and yet still make more money, right? They're not really changing what they do. They say they just bought a stake in this company, right?
Yeah.
And now they got income, and they're already guaranteed business because they're pushing their own arm through that, right? So yes, I think there's always a way. How can we, without disruption for the end user, how can we squeeze more juice out of this orange, lemon, or whatever, right? So I think this is all good. Yes, we are looking at ways to make it more profitable. Comic books are never going to go away as a medium, right? Will they go all digital one way? They might, because, or would they be only graphic novels or 100-page giants in Walmart? That could still happen. Right?
Yeah.
I don't see in our foreseeable future that physical copies will go away. I think they do have to change their model. Everyone does. This is a new time, right? And that's why they have to be better at digital. Marvel still has some things to learn about digital as well. If they should be giving digital copies of your books, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a flux. There's still a transition. But yes, DC is always, Marvel too. It's just that Marvel can now be funded by the big universe, right? The movie universe, right? It's just, you need 20 million for this year. Here you go, right? It doesn't even affect me. I made $1 billion off of one movie and shit, right?
It's a tax write-off for Disney,
right? Warner Brothers, though, is DC Comics is owned by Warner Brothers, right? Or I don't know if they're all connected or whatever. They're all owned by AT&T. Right.
Yeah.
So now that, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at the HBO Plus now, which has a area like Disney has a Marvel area.
Right.
And so all these things, they're all trying to look at, still a business. They're all trying to look at being more profitable. That is, the bottom line is always an ongoing issue. I see definitely a way to improve a lot of things, including buying 10%, 20% stake in this distribution company. It's just a smart move. You will get your money back because you are your own customer.
Yeah.
Right. So why have Diamond make all that profit? Why not recoup all of it? I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers didn't own the whole thing or bought enough controlling stock.
Right.
Right. They can, certainly AT&T can afford it. So yes. But I was never in fear that my comics are going to go away. That was never a concern for me.
Right.
If they go away, it doesn't feed the movies. It doesn't. It's not going to go away.
All right.
Stuff.
I haven't done a whole lot of research on the Eisner nominees. Do either of you have any thoughts about some of the people that are listed or some of the books?
Excellent. Some of the books we have talked about here.
Yeah.
For example, Best Limited Series, Naomi is there. Little Bird, which I did about that little girl, right? So the Best New Series, Dr. Doom, which I am reading. So I think if anything else, these are all books, Daredevil, because Daredevil is always good, right? You can't go wrong.
Yes, you've extolled his phrases, and I have to get on that.
Yeah, we need to be looking at this. And I challenge you to bring me some books that are Eisner worthy and make me read them, right? So I see two of mine in there. I'm just saying. So, definitely want to bring some things that the world knows is great. And it's good. It's good. Like, we've only seen certain movies. Wow, one of these I really wanted to bring, and I was scared to bring it because it was too much. Anyway, I may still bring it down. It's on my list.
Definitely not too much murder, I'm sure.
No, it's something else. So I'm going to decide once and drop it in, and I'm going to make you read it because I can. And you're like, Russ, why did you make me read this? Because it's dominated, so you have to read it. So anyway, it's like I'd like to think these are the 10 big movies of the year based on what I watch and then find out who the other people who say that. It's nice to have that comparison. And it's also nice to say, I didn't even know this book existed. Let me go take a look.
Yeah.
So that's what this shows up for me. And it'll be interesting to see who wins. What if Little Bird wins? Right? Little Bird, because now money is in that. They got some best penciler. Little Bird is in there, right? Best story, all these different things. So I can't wait. I'm sort of excited about it. They even got best coloring, best lettering. I didn't even think about, we don't even talk about lettering.
No. So that was the one thing that I was going to say is like, I feel like best lettering is, it's almost an antiquated category that even continues because it's so easy to just pick a typeface and put it in digitally. You don't have to take the time like you used to.
But some people do things with the lettering, with the letters, and like
Thor's, the way that he speaks is different text, right? Or whatever. Yeah.
And does lettering count as sound effects? Count as lettering?
A good question. I have to look into it.
Someone has to spell patoing, right? And someone has to write that in there so you get that. Is that lettering?
Yeah.
I mean, also there's the way in which it's used because the cat from Strayed has a unique lettering than all of the humans. So it's a good differentiated marker to show this is an animal, this is a human, this is an alien, this is a robot.
Yeah.
And even the style of the bubbles around it. I mean, around the words.
Exactly.
Right? Somebody has to do all of that. So
yeah.
There's something there, but I never really look at it deeply, but now I may consider doing that.
I thought the coloring was interesting. Because I do look at that. I do look and see how I feel the way that because we've had books that use coloring in interesting ways, whereas it might be a theme of like this particular area that these characters exist in is all cool colors, and then this other area, to do more than just change the physical environments around them, we change the feel of the colors.
Yeah.
I pay attention to that, and I thought it was interesting. I think it was an issue that you brought on, Russ. Let me see if I can find it again.
Archie versus Predator? There's somebody for best cover artist for Archie versus Predator.
No, that's awesome.
So ridiculous, but I love it.
Dave Stewart, the guy that did Black Hammer. So I think we had one or two issues of Black Hammer that we talked about. Kind of interesting that he was nominated. Silver Surfer Black. That was an interesting title. That's one of his too. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Do we know when this is happening? Because doesn't it normally take place during Comic-Con?
I think so, and I don't know because I don't know enough.
It's been delayed, right?
So Comic-Con was awards is chosen by the panel of judges, but nothing here in this particular article gives me a date. So we shall see.
Do they do it? Do they do it via Zoom? Maybe we can do some live reactions on YouTube.
That would be nice. Best graphic album, best reprint.
Yeah. They actually do a lot for the reprints.
Best adaptation from another movie. Yeah. Best strips, comic strips. Wow. Best comic related journalism. Best publication design. This is all really good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, just a little tidbit, DC has canceled 22 reprints. Reprint titles from its Dollar Comics and Facsimile lines, FYI.
Yep. Speaking of money issues, Young Master Payne, there you go.
They cancel the books that I buy.
Yeah.
I do like those dollar issues. That's kind of nice to just pick up, especially if it's something famous that you'll never own the original of. But it costs you $1 and you get to pick it up and actually read it. Like, that's kind of cool. So, all right, gentlemen, we've been going for almost 90 full minutes. It's a long episode this week,
Beautiful.
but I think it was a good episode. And on that note, Russ, any last final thoughts?
Nope, keep buying comics and do them legally free. I got some things to bring next time we talk. So.
All right. And Emmanuel, do you have anything to say about the X-Men?
I do have something to say. Funny you should mention that. I still am no longer an X-Men fan. No longer. Once was.
How long were you an X-Men fan? Only like a.
I was a tyke. I was a tyke all of 13. When they canceled Ultimate X-Men. 13, 14.
Your 13th year. Okay, so that your 13th, 14th year on the planet, that was the time when you were an X-Men fan, and then nevermore.
They canceled Ultimate X-Men, and it broke my heart so much into where I just
that's it.
Can't do it anymore.
All right, and on that note, we're out.
Oh, Matt, are you now a Justice League fan? Am I really yours?
I'm now a Justice League fan. I would say that I'm more a Justice League fan than I was. I'm desperately trying to get into more DC stuff for sure.
And I'm desperately trying to bring you more DC stuff that's worthy of you.
I think the way in which you'll get that would be Green Lantern. I think you seem to have an affinity for Green Lantern. So if we find a good Green Lantern story that may tie into the rest of the Justice League, that's how we'll get you.
I've thought about bringing Emerald Twilight, or maybe doing us all agreeing on like one graphic novel or like one seminal series to bring in for the week. But we have to talk about that.
DC animated movie review.